sales is the most lucrative skill in the world, period. The problem is most sales advice out there today is outdated, cheesy, and can even keep you from getting the deals that can make all the difference in your career. This is the No BS Sales School, a podcast for entrepreneurs and salespeople who want to master the skill of selling without all the BS. So today, my guest of the No BS Sales School is my buddy Vaughn Granger. Some of y'all know Vaughn. He is he's famous in his own way. Vaughn is an entrepreneur. He's a hell of a sales guy. We've been friends for about 10 years. We've known each other for longer. And we're absolutely not friends before that. I thought he was an asshole and he thought I was an asshole. We're both right, but we like each other anyway. We'll get to there in a minute. But today, what I want to talk about with Vaughn, this is a little bit longer episode. We're going to talk for 30 minutes today. I want to talk with Vaughn about how to perform at the highest level consistently. And the reason I brought him on here to talk about this is because he's somebody who does it. He doesn't just talk about it. Vaughn lives it. So let's jump right in. Vaughn Granger, welcome to the No BS Sales School podcast.
What's up, baby? Thanks for having me back.
It is my pleasure. As you know, I've told you very few people. I think I've had like maybe two other people been on here twice. So very few people make it back. Only my best guests make it back for a second round. So, and you were absolutely one of those. So, and actually, I think the first episode I did with you, which was about 2.5 years ago, was one of my highest listened to episodes ever still.
Well, let's make this one number one.
Even freaking better. So, Vaughn, you are known as somebody who performs at a high level. I know you as somebody who performs at a high level, even to the point where, are you turning 40 this year? Is that correct?
Just turned 40, yeah.
Just turned 40. You told me the other day you want to be in the best shape of your life at 40 years old.
Hell yeah.
And so let's start with that, because in a physical sense, I know that is very important to you. You stay in shape like mad. Tell me, why is that important to you?
Because it requires me to do a bunch of shit I don't want to do. Like, first and foremost, the discipline to stay in top physical condition, that mindset that it creates is the same mindset that pushes and frames everything else I do during the day. And on top of it, I'm extremely vain. I mean, I'm in the clothing business by trade, and I like to look good naked. So, I mean, like there's realistically, at one point in my life, I don't know, probably Aaron and I had been married, 10 years. And I saw one of those pictures from behind, like at the beach or something. I was like, who's that? And I was like, oh shit, that's me. And I had like the tire, like, you know.
Oh, you had the married tire.
And I was like, dude, what am I doing? Like, this is terrible. And so, I don't know, it's just representative. I wasn't showing up for myself, which damn sure means I can't show up for my wife or for my clients or for anybody else. Like, it's just, the physical piece frames the mindset. And so I don't know, that's really important to me. I mean, because when you're fighting against, like when you're training your body, it's you against you. Like there is no comparison. You're either better than you were yesterday or not. So like, you know, you don't get caught up with keeping with the Joneses. It's just like, dude, am I improving or getting worse? Right. And so I don't know. That's a huge piece of my daily deal.
Since I've known you, when it was 10 years ago, you were in Leadership Columbia, and you said you were going to be on the U.S. Olympic swimming team.
Yep.
And that was a goal. You didn't make that. I didn't see you there.
No.
What was it that drove you to that, though? Why that?
I mean, I become obsessed with whatever it is I'm doing. I mean, if I'm going to do something, I want to be really, really good at it. Mm-hmm. Part of it is I grew up on a horse farm, never been hunting like my entire life, except maybe once in a deer stand. I didn't even have a gun. And I remember a client invited me to go bird hunting, I don't know, probably 4 or 5 years ago. And I was like, yeah, that'd be great. And then I was like, uh-oh, like I committed to it, but now I don't want to get embarrassed, right? And so I actually called a mutual friend of ours, Brett Mealing, and I said, hey, Brett, I've never even shot a shotgun, and much less at one flying. Or, you know, what, something flying. So anyway, long story short, he took me to the shooting range, and first 45 minutes, I didn't hit a single clay. And then next thing you know, it just kind of clicked. And on my first hunt, you know, I came home with birds. And
wow, that's awesome.
I guess I would love to say like I just like to be in the best. The truth is, I hate not performing well at something, and so I'd rather aim for the Olympics and get first place at Masters than aim at first place at Masters and be
just
the fourth slow. Yeah, it's just so I'd rather aim way high, and if I fall short of that, like who cares? Like
you're still doing.
But
good.
I have to be that committed to it.
But you know, you said something funny. You said you don't want to be embarrassed, right? And yeah. I don't think anybody wants to be embarrassed necessarily. You don't like not to win. But what is your strategy when you do fall short and it's shorter than you thought it was going to? In other words, when you shoot the Olympics, end up winning the Masters, hey, great. But when you do fuck something up, when you do make a mistake, when you miss the mark and you're not as good as you ought to be, can you think of a time when that happened?
Yeah, it happens every day. I mean, that's one of the things that we talk about in my office. And it's really like my team, when we bring new people in, is one of the hardest things for new team members to adopt is the mindset that because we are a growing company and because we're surrounded, like everything, you know, I mean, it takes on your personality as the CEO, the leader, whatever you want to call it. Like, we're constantly going into new territory that we have no idea what we're doing. And we're moving really, really quickly to get there. And so by just as a necessity out of that, like we're running into situations that we've never been in before. I mean, so we have skills that we don't know that we needed that we don't have. There are tools that
give me an example of that. What's an example of that? A skill that you don't have yet? Yeah.
Like a great one right now. I opened up another location for one of our stores in Myrtle Beach. And it was like, dude, this is great. We got this one operation in Mount Pleasant. This is perfect. Boom. Let's hit the duplicate button. We got all these process systems, blah, blah, blah. We opened up that shop. In no way, shape, or form was it twice the work. It was like 17 times the work because now you've got setup costs. You have different cash flow deals. You have different inventory, different markets. You got to buy different. It's like, holy crap. I grossly underestimated what I didn't know. Mm-hmm. And you have one of two choices. You need to sit there and be like you cannot make the move because you don't know everything, which means that you're not going to try a bunch of stuff.
Yep.
Secondly, the other option is you're like, okay, this is really uncomfortable. Let's pull back. Like this is a bad idea. Let's get out of here as quick as humanly fucking possible. Or third is like, dude, we got to figure it out. And so that's like a real example. It's like, look, I'm not going to bust your ass. If you make a mistake playing all out, I don't care because if you're not making mistakes, it means you're not trying anything new. Mm-hmm. It means that you're not progressing. You're going to make mistakes. That's a good thing. What's bad is when you won't make a mistake because you're afraid of making a mistake. And therefore you won't take any action. That's when we run into it. Like you will get negative consequences of that if you work with me, period.
It's like playing not to lose versus playing to win is the old saw, right?
Yeah.
If you play not to lose, you're afraid not to make a mistake, but playing to win is fuck it, I got to go for it.
Yeah. And the truth of the matter is like I can fail 10 times and I can fail 9 out of those 10 times. And that one winner, like I'll still beat everyone else or most people because they're still trying to try the first one. And the first one's never right. Right. I mean, you think about the first time you did anything, it's never the best. Right. Like there are a lot of examples that we could go to. And it's like, dude, give me the 10th or 100th time.
Yep. One of the things I've learned is that if ever I think something is simple, it means I don't understand it. Right. The first time, oh, this is easy. Right. And honestly, I think that's what got me to start my own company because how hard could it be? Well, I'll tell you how hard it could be. I don't think most people, if they knew how hard being an entrepreneur is, I don't think most people would accept the challenge. Now, at the same time, now that I know what I know, I would never go back. I don't want to have to work for somebody else ever. But I had no idea the trials and tribulations I would go through to get here.
It's just like marriage or being a parent. I mean, it's very similar. Like I have 3 beautiful kids and a wife that somehow she probably needs to get evaluated if she's still married with me, but that's a different deal. But like, the truth is like raising kids is freaking hard. Staying committed in a marriage is like, it's hard. it's not easy. There are times where you don't freaking like your spouse or they don't like you. Like if you knew how tough it would be to stay married, you probably wouldn't get freaking married. But I would never change that for anything. Like nothing in this life that's actually worthwhile has ever not just kicked my ass along the way.
Ooh, like the way you said that.
Yeah,
Everything that's worthwhile has kicked your ass along the way. That's good.
1,000%. I was at Carolina, and you go through pledging, and if you do a fraternity, that kind of deal.
Yeah.
And you see it a lot. Like you look at like badasses, like SEAL teams, high performing MMA, like athletes, MMA. Inside of suffering is like, that's where the cool shit happens. Like that's where the magic happens. It's in those growing pains and those moments that you bond together and you find out that there's another level of what you're capable of. I was listening to a guy the other day and I was like, man, that's cool. He was like, I thrive on knowing that I'm able to do what would break most people. Mm-hmm. And it's like, dude, that's it. Like, I want to be able to take more than you can take. Because if I show up with the mindset knowing I can do that, I'm going to crush my competition every single time. And I'm going to be very, very proud. And if I fall short, like Mike Chandler, MMA guy, like he lost recently. He's like, dude, you learn in the losses. But like, if I can lay my head down knowing that I gave it absolutely every morsel of what I had, like, dude, if I still lose, like, you're the better man. Hats off. I'm proud of you. Good job.
Yeah. Yeah, it's different between I got beat and I lost.
Oh my!
I got beat means I showed up and I did it versus I lost, which means I didn't give it my all.
Yeah, and I never want to walk away going, man, I'm a loser. Instead, hey, I don't mind that guy winning, but he's gonna have to beat me at my absolute best. And that's not to say I don't show up. I mean, I'm like everybody else. There are days that I wake up, I'm like, I don't have it. There are meetings I walk into and I'm like, jeez, that was a train wreck.
So what do you do then? How do you handle it because I mean, we're all humans here, right? We all deal. I've screwed up some sales calls in the last couple of weeks that break my heart. How do you handle it when you get your ass kicked? What is it you do to boost yourself again or to come back up to level? If that ever happens.
All right. So if I messed up because I was trying something new, right? So like if it wasn't an under-prepped deal, like it was just new, then I just try to be graceful to myself, right? I mean, like my kids learning how to walk, like I'm not on like be like, you dumbass, you fell. Like like, no, come on. So I try to be encouraging to myself, right? Because
good.
Oftentimes I'm way too critical. Now, if I show up to something underprepared, I literally will just wear myself out in a debriefing after that deal. And I'll say, look, get your stuff together, get it back on the rails. Come on, what are you doing here? And then sometimes with that energy, another thing that I'll just do is, and you kind of alluded to at the beginning, like just going to the gym or going for a run, like literally, I'm going to use the word punishing myself, like taking that and just getting it out. Because typically there's, like my daddy used to tell me, he was like, if I'm seeing this, I know it's showing up other places too. And I'm like, shut up. No, it's not. Yeah. And it's like, dude, typically when I walk into something and I'm underprepared, I'm doing it across the board. I'm walking in and I'm doing it with my kids in the afternoon when I get home. I'm doing it with Aaron. Like it's across the board. So typically it's my head's up my ass and I need to change my mindset around stuff. And I guess I'm just like an old like work dog or workhorse. Like you just kind of have to beat it out of me. Like I have to push myself to the point where I break and then I can rebuild myself with the good stuff.
It's interesting. I too use the gym as my place. I don't see it so much as punishing myself. I see it as sweating out whatever fucking poison that kept me from performing at my best level. I have really tried, really been working on my self-talk, and I used to be very, I named my inner critic. Have I talked to you about this before? No. The little voice, I named him Frank. And what I used to do was when Frank would say, you're not good enough for this, whatever, I would say, fuck you, Frank. Right. But then it's funny, my wife who teaches yoga, gave me a different angle. Then I was listening to a podcast yesterday, this psychologist talking about inner talk. And it's funny, my wife was right, which she is right 99.9% of the time. But she said, when your self-critic says you aren't good enough or whatever, instead of saying, fuck you, Frank, says, instead, that's you. If you get angry at it, you're giving it life. So instead, say, Frank, hey, thanks for your opinion. I'm going to get back to work now. Hey, Frank, thanks for your opinion. I'm going to get back to work now. Because in that way, you're dismissing it and you're putting it off and not being worse back to yourself, right? Because it is just you.
Well, emotions, right? Labeling negative, positive, that kind of stuff.
Yep.
I don't think it's not one's good or one bad. Emotion is just information, feedback, right? I mean, it's like, this makes me feel this way. Why? Okay, now we're pulling out information. The same thing.
That's self-awareness too. This makes me feel this way. Why? I think that's one of your other strengths. But go ahead. I interrupted you.
Yeah, no. Well, and it's interesting because like the word punishing to me, I don't want to kill the person. Like I don't want to kill that little voice or Frank. You know what I mean? Like it's not that you want to kill them because they're part of who you are.
Yes.
But it's just like, I again equate it to being a parent and having children. I want to mold and develop that voice and teach that voice and lead that voice because that part of me is good in some areas. Yep. The dominant provider, hunter, like that's great, but that's not always the best person to show up to talk to a teenage daughter. Like, like good luck. Right. That's going to repel somebody pretty quick. And so like that, I have to nurture that other side of me. But there's a time and place and an appropriate way for that character, if you will, to communicate and behave. There's an appropriate way to do that and an inappropriate. And it's just, it's kind of like when you take me through sales training, it's like, lead the little kid in the car in terms of like bringing your emotion and your childlike behavior into an adult-like conversation. It's like, yeah, dude, there's a time and place for the child. It's just not here. And so
not here.
It's honoring that. So I do agree that you don't want to kill that person because that person's still on inside of you, that person is still going to be there. It's just, where are they useful?
Yeah, perfect. And where do you pay attention?
Yeah.
So we know there's the fitness thing. We know how else do you stay sharp?
Meditation is a big one. So every day.
Tell me about that.
Yeah. So I read scripture in the morning, work out, meditate, and I always do a journaling of the day before. And I take something that either was like really, really good that I'm grateful for, something that frustrated me, made me sad, basically reflect back on any emotion that I had that like really lingered into that morning. And what I do is I take that and reflect on it. And why was this good that it happened? What's the lesson learned? And then I actually take that lesson and then teach it or share it to either someone on my team, social media, coaching clients, things like that. Those are that's a big piece of my daily routine and what I hit every day.
So you wake up, you read some scripture, you then go work out, you come back and you journal, and then you go teach that to somebody else. That's pretty strong. I am not that structured in the morning. I'm not. I do my workout after work. I do my contemplation from the day between the time I take a shower and the time I go to bed. I have spent more time with my focus, quite frankly, on, I call it inhaling information. I am a podcast junkie. I listen to the Founders podcasts with David Senra. Probably, I bet I spend, 2 to 3 hours a week on the Founders podcast. I listen to a lot of strategic coach podcasts. I'm trying to, I do read some business books, but I'm trying as much to read and listen to biographies as anything, so that I can begin to distill my own information as opposed to take it packaged from somebody else. Are you reading at all?
So it's interesting you say
podcasting.
So I had to cut myself back a little bit. I was taking in so much
Mm-hmm.
that it was almost like decision paralysis, right? I didn't really know what to take
Mm-hmm.
action on. And you
Interesting.
just alluded to it. The self-reflection in the morning of like taking my lessons that I've learned from my day before
Yep.
has been so much more helpful because for me, where I'm at right now, like it's just it almost qualified myself to me, right? Because what's crazy is when I started sharing the insights that I was having, people were like, "Where are you getting this stuff?" And I'm like, "Life, God, the
Yeah.
what
Living.
inside of me, right?" It's like, dude, it's right there. Um,
Yep.
and I think that that's been really helpful for me because it really puts me in tune to what I need to focus on. Like I love strategic coach and you put me on the Founders Podcast. Now I will say biographies, autobiographies, super cool because I love seeing like because you have the luxury of seeing the end of the story
Yeah. Yep.
and you can see what it was like before they got there and their
Mm-hmm.
mindsets, how it shaped their decision. And you put me on the Founders thing. That was dope. Like it's so cool. Like those guys and like even reading the Bible and the characters like in the Bible, like it's just
Yeah. Yep.
interesting. You're like, oh, I can see why they approach this way because this is their background, whatever. Like all those frames matter, and we each have our own frame. And so I kind of started thinking about it. I was like, it's an autobiography. I'm just looking at it every day right now. So it's been so I've tried to reduce my reading. I've started following Alex Hormozy a lot. He
I've
said,
never heard
look,
him. Who is that? Alex
uh,
Formosi?
yeah. So he's got a
VERMOSI?
Hormozi.
Oh,
He he sold his company for like a couple hundred million or something like that, and
okay.
it's really neat because he talks about he's like he's like I don't devour books. He goes I read one book like 5 times,
Heard about
and
that.
he's like I really study the book, and I was like oh
Mm-hmm.
okay, so more deep, less wide, um, which is hard for me. That's very counterintuitive to me because I'm like
Me too.
let's expand, do this, do expand, blah, blah, whatever.
Next. Yep.
Yeah, and he's really on like this mastery deal. And I think like when I look at things I've been really good at, like sales, you know, I can jump because I've had so many reps at it. I can jump into it. I have such a framework of sales and that like the process that we go through. Like I love that and I'm really good at it. And I can add a tremendous amount of value to that. And so like I've almost, or not almost, I have really shrunk what I'm focusing on to really like 3 key things in terms of business every single day. One of them is helping my clients. Like there's like I kind of thought I wanted to get, not work with many clients, whatever. And it's like, no. I would like working with my really big clients.
Yeah.
Like love that. Number 2, really working with my direct leadership team and pouring into them and teaching them and educating them and training them like daily, spending a
Yep.
truckload of time with them.
Mm-hmm.
And then the third one is really figuring out this whole coaching, digital, like social media, digital, like how do you take coaching and deliver it on a digital level and at scale? And that's been really cool because like, dude, I'm a, I'm like in pre-K on that stuff. And so
Oh
I feel
man.
like a complete loser. And I have all these weird feelings. Like, I mean, this would probably, I think this would be neat. So, I'm like, I'm not tiny. They call me Little Vaughn. You and I both know I'm not real tiny, but I'm
Yeah.
sitting there. But on this social media game, like if someone's like starts kind of poking fun at my social media or like, joke, like kind of just harassing me about
Yep.
a post, like, dude, I start taking that shit real personally. And it's crazy how fragile I am in that one area. But one of the things I've come to realize is I make it like that's making it about me. It's not about me. It's about me serving. And if I think about me serving someone that needs to hear my message, I don't give a shit if it offends 87 people and helps one. If it's the one that needs help, like that's super important. Like I don't care what you think. And so it's been I've been working on that for the last year diligently. And it like, man, it's emotionally draining, but I'm, it's so cool to help what you would think is a complete stranger, like, and having a real impact on them. I'm like getting to like DMs that are like, man, I can't tell you this is this is where I was in my relationship, and you said this today, and like you're helping somebody's marriage, maybe they're suicide. Like, it's just wild. It's crazy how impactful it is.
I agree with you. And some of the people that, I mean, I've never met before that will say, I listened to episode XYZ and heard you say this, and that changed everything for me, or whatever, or thank you, help me with this deal, or I never thought of something that way. It's really, and so I had a coach in New York that I love, his name is Hank Norman, and he said, you're going to get haters on social media. He said, you should revel in the haters. He said, because if you've got 100 people that hate your ass, and maybe they're not all jumping on your messages, but they hate your ass and resent you, there are 1,000 people that love your ass and will buy anything that you sell. And so what his goal was, he said, be controversial enough that you get haters. And I've loved that. That's not the way I live my life. And I don't want to, he said, don't take me too literally, but that's kind of the thing. Be controversial enough to get it.
Well, I think the cool thing, Walker, and like, this is something that I know you do in tangible real life, quote unquote. Like, you're just going to be true to who you are.
Yes.
And especially like if you're in a sales call, consultation, whatever, like you're going to be genuinely authentic about whether or not you can help the person, not help the person. Like, that's one of the coolest things about what you've taught me and my team. And if you take that same exact mindset and parlay it onto social media, it's not like I don't care about being the entertainer where I'm like stirring up controversy for the hell of stirring up controversy. Yeah, but I damn sure will take the stand. It's crazy how powerful it is, because there's a lot of people that are afraid to take any kind of stand. So they don't stand for anything and they just get run over. And, you talk about like leading and entrepreneurism and we're all leaders. If you've got a pulse and you're breathing, you lead at least yourself. And more than likely you're a leader of your family, a good or bad leader. It doesn't matter. Or I mean, it matters, but one way or the other. Like, at some point you must take a stance.
Yep.
Like, that's absolutely necessary to be a leader. And if you're not willing to take a stance, then the people who need you to take a stance, you're letting them down. Like, you have an obligation. This is not about you. And so, I don't know. It's just the whole thing. That's what drives me personally to like do all this shit, I guess.
Love it. Can I share with you a couple things I've learned from our conversation today? I've taken a bunch of notes.
Yeah, but I have a question for you. Sorry.
What you got, buddy?
You mentioned prior to this recording.
Yep.
So we were talking about how we stay sharp. And you mentioned this new little thing that you were trying out.
Yeah.
There was like a shot or something. It was like, you said it was some green juice or whatever. And it was like Iron Man drinking his shit. Iron Man's my favorite Marvel character. Well, what the hell were you talking about?
So there's this cool product that I found. These guys reached out to me, and we're seeing if I want them as a sponsor for my show. But it's a thing called Magic Mind. It's a little ounce shot that's all natural. Let me get the bottle for you here. I drink it every morning. It's called.
Does it taste like shit?
I don't think it tastes so bad. A lot of people say it tastes like shit. I took some, and what they say it does is it boosts your energy without making you anxious. It says calm energy. And I could use all the calm energy I can find. And what I've found is in the morning when I come in, I've had a cup of coffee, I take my Adderall, take my giant disc of Adderall. And and what I found when I add this stuff to my routine is that I can be super creative and focus more than normal in a calm way instead of an agitated way, which is how I've typically found my focus is in a zzz energy as opposed, but this actually smooths me out, and it lasts about 4.5, 5 hours. And, I like it. And I'm going to call them back and talk about the sponsorship and let's figure out how that's going to work. But I'm a big fan of Magic Mind. And if you haven't tried it, I think they advertise on Instagram. And if you just look at magicmind.com or .co, magicmind.co, check it out. Tell them you heard about it from Walker McKay, and we'll see if we can get a sponsorship going. But do check it out. I bet you.
Because I think it's part of it too, right? You just got to have to try new things. And like I have a love-hate relationship with Adderall.
Yep.
And it's just, but the focus stuff is important. I mean, because there's a lot of shit to get done. And the creative side of it, like, you got to have the flow, but you got to have the focus. It's a tough little line. So I'll go check that out. But you mentioned it. Sorry. I didn't mean to
no, thanks for bringing it up. It's all good. Let me tell you some things I learned from you. This quote, I swear I'm going to put it on my wall. Everything in this life that's worthwhile kicks your ass at some point.
Yep.
I 100% agree. Number 2 was I take my lessons from the day before and share them with my team. And you do that through your journaling and through your meditation, which is awesome. And then 3 things that you like to do. Number 1 is you like to help your clients. You like to work very close with your leadership team. And number 3, I love this because it's learning. You're learning a new skill that's scary, that it's so easy to say that's what the young kids do. That's what them kids do, right? Bullshit, right? That is not just what the young kids do. It's our responsibility as business owners to stay up on that shit, it not to be some foreign language. Not that we have to do everything, but we damn sure need to know about a lot of things. Vaughn Granger, where would somebody find you if they wanted to talk to you, learn more about what you do?
Check me out. Instagram is my favorite platform. At Vaughn Granger is where you'll find me. VaughngRanger. You got it. That's the best place to do it. Hit me up in DM. I manage my own account. So if you send me a message, it's like you're texting my cell phone, except probably more likely to get a response. So Walker, thanks so much for having me on the show, man.
Vaughn, it's my pleasure. I would ask anybody who's listening, share this episode with somebody else who needs to hear it. And if you have not yet given me a review, please write a quick review on there. Put some words down. Give me some stars. It's helping. I'm at 93 recommendations. I got to get over 100. That's when Apple starts paying attention. So if you have not yet written a review of me, please do so. Share this with somebody who's to hear it. Thank you, Vaughn Granger. You're the damn man. I appreciate you.
Thanks for listening to the No BS Sales School podcast. If you haven't already, please take 1 minute to write a quick review for the show. It really does make a huge difference. Also, subscribe to the show and please forward this episode to somebody else who needs to hear it. As a bonus for listening, I'm going to give you access to a free mini course, 7 expensive sales mistakes you're making and what you can do about it. Go to www.7salesmistakes.com and get access to the free mini course. That's the number 7salesmistakes.com. Thanks again for listening to the No BS Sales School podcast.